All right. We are going to get this fired up. Give me just a minute, y'all, to get the word out in the chat, and then I did not want to grab that. Give me just a moment. Okay. Did I put the wrong thing in here? I did. Undo. Okay. There we go. Okay. The Bonnet Chronicles. There we go. Spout that off and get this party started. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host.
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman.
Hey, Beans. Thank you so much for the follow. 18 months. It is amazing to see you. I hope you had a good day, and I hope that you have a great weekend. Welcome in. Welcome in. And I was just about to get it fired off. I just got a lot of stuff crisscrossed because I just did a react that I'm gonna upload later on. I gotta edit down the mac and cheese one too, and it's just Chantopoulos was a bit of a wild ride too, and it's gonna lead a little bit into what I'm about to talk about because there's some crazy crap going on right now. There's people that like to invoke the dead, which I don't know about you, but in my people's tradition, you don't do that. That is bad luck, bad everything. And the fact of the matter is, there have been way too many people being out of pocket this week, starting with Sharon Osbourne, because on Tuesday, Little Miss Osbourne decided that she was going to come from Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, of all people. Now, granted, Whitney had some troublesome times towards her end, and that is neither here nor there. She is resting in power, and you need to keep her name out of your mouth. I don't understand what Sharon's doing. I heard she got a podcast too. Way to go. You're literally the wife of a major music legend, but gotta keep your name relevant, I guess. So she goes on this cockamamie story about how she was at a VH1 music thing years back, and how Whitney was doing a sound set, and her daughter came over, sat next to her, and then Bobby came over to sit next to Bobby Christina, who is both of these women that Sharon's talking about on this podcast are deceased at this time. I need you to understand that both Whitney and her daughter are gone. And this heifer is talking about them as if they're still here. She gives this cockamamie story about how during the set, Whitney, a literal diva who loves to perform and do the performance well, stopped, went up to her saying, "You want to F her man," which was Bobby Brown at the time, to Sharon Osbourne, which I don't believe the story already from it. But then she gets even wilder and says that Whitney notices a ring on Sharon's finger, because Whitney Houston ain't got no rings at that point. Like, we all know Whitney Houston's history by then. She had several top tens by then and everything else. But she's going to notice a ring on Sharon's finger that apparently this host said she took off her finger, tossed it at this diva, and ran. There's so much to unpack with this stupid fucking story already. But the fact that The Root had the report on it already had me side-eyeing it because, nobody else is really going to talk about this shit besides us. Because it is some stupid fuck shit. But I just want to tell you, Sharon Osbourne, stop talking about the dead. It is not going to magically revive your career. And talking about a legend like Whitney Houston is such a light. Saying that you threw a ring at her. Was you trying for clout? Because it's not going to work. None of this is going to revive that career of yours, and definitely not going to make you look less of a bigot. Because we remember the shit you did against Meghan Markle, all the stuff that you do against women of color, the fact that Sherry Shepherd had some choice words about working with you. So, yeah, no, you do not get to tell us that Whitney Houston got a ring thrown at her by you, because I don't believe you, you liar. I am just so annoyed. I don't know, Beans. astounds me, the levels of energy this woman constantly gives to disrespecting black women, calling us out of our faces, shitting on our name and our legacies, especially if we're like Whitney Houston, which I'm not even putting myself in that realm, but she tends to like to come for black women because she thinks it's an easy button to press. And I'm telling you right now, you need to leave the dead's name out of your mouth, period. But you also need to stay out of Whitney Houston's whole legacy because it has nothing to do with you. And the fact that you're out there lying and talking about throwing rings at people, ma'am, like, I'm telling you. But it wasn't even it for the Root. There was so much that I ingested from them today that I will be going back and forth with their stuff because they were on it today with a lot of what happened this week. But one of the bigger things that I wanted to bring up was the fact that the Smiths are once again in the news. And no, I am not going to be saying any of the salacious stuff because I like my house and I don't want to lose my house and I ain't trying to get sued. But they might have lawsuit worthy stuff soon. And it is that same chick that Cardi B, which is what this article is about, sued and won against. Now, Cardi B had to show support for unproblematic Will Smith. I don't know, don't care. Like I said, the stuff that has been floating around from even out of Jada's mouth have got me going, I know too much about this couple's business. Celebrities, keep your shit to yourselves. Have that private life and that personal life separated from us. Let us speculate and gossip, but don't, like, Jada was given too much info. But there's also the girl who Cardi B just won a $4 million slander suit against in the news again because she interviewed somebody who said some really messed up stuff about Will Smith that she's going to lose everything. She is going to be under whatever civic boulder of owing money to these stars if she doesn't stop doing these weird ass podcasts where she has people come on and say awful things. Tasha K, I'm telling you, sister to sister, this ain't it. I know you want the ratings. I know you think that this is going to somehow get your name out there. The only reason why I know your name is because everybody is suing you into oblivion. And going after the Smiths like this is not a good look. Now, I don't know anything about that brother man you had on your last podcast, but I do know they're now talking lawsuit. And like Cardi B, I feel like both Will and Jada have the power and the capital to take you to court for this. And you really should not have put that out there. I don't even want to scroll down on this because I don't want my Bonnet Chronicles sued. There is some stuff, even in this article, that is very alleged that was said on that podcast that I ain't repeating that crap. All I know is that I wouldn't want to be a celebrity, honestly. Put in business out there about your life. People are going to speculate no matter what. So I've been trying to get through the Foodie Beauty and her dumb shit because she went on the community tab rage earlier about somebody's deceased spouse. The thing I need people to understand, point blank period, about anything, whether they're e-celebrities or anything else, is that you are under a microscope and you're going to have people speculating and saying all kinds of stuff about you, whether you like it or not. And if it's not true, you let it slide. But when it is that low, no, I would sue the fuck out of Tasha K for any of the shit. Just a fraction of the stuff that was said openly on that podcast. Couldn't be me, man. I won't even fall into the pattern of showing that shit in this article because I don't want to get sued. I don't even want to be adjacent to that fuck shit story because I don't believe it either. And even if it was even remotely true, I think Will's man enough to where if he was doing that kind of stuff, he would own it. I don't think he'd be ashamed of it. So no, do not put stuff out there without solid proof. And if Will wanted that kind of business about him out there, he'd tell it himself. Or Jada would tell it. They said it's not true, and I tend to believe, since she overshares everything, that if Jada thought she could make something out of it, and not to slander her name, it is a business of keeping relevant. If she thought this would be good for her career, she would say, hey, yeah, this happened. But she is saying it is not true, so I'm siding with the Smiths on this, that shit ain't true. I feel like there's a lot of bad blood from people that work with Will. There are a lot of people that think they're owed certain things, and when you have to deal with that, shit comes out. I don't know what else to say about this, but the fact that Cardi B made a really fun response, but she seemed like she was kind of off in it, so I don't want to play that too much, and I don't want to get copyright struck or anything, but I agree with Cardi. I honestly think that Will Smith is outside smacking Chris Rock that one time, which gave a lot of people the vapors. He tends to stay under the radar. It wasn't until Justice not even 2 months ago that Jada started talking about their relationship not being a real relationship and all this other weird shit that we honestly didn't need to know, didn't ask, but she keeps volunteering to us. But when she has to come out and say, no, none of the stuff that this weird podcaster and this person that she interviewed said about my husband is real and we now are looking into litigation, girl, you need to stop putting shit out there that's unverified. You need to stop interviewing people that legitimately have a beef and an axe to grind, because it's your bag that's fucked up forever now. I don't understand it. Like, clout is not worth completely fucking over your career for. For real. I don't understand it. But I definitely want to get to the heart of tonight. Because you know, if you follow me on Spoutable, what the main event was going to be about. Because, oh my gosh, dude, this man has had a week, hasn't he? George Santos, the chronic diabetes sufferer that he is, has had a really fun week. He tends to think that he's untouchable still, but now he's not seeking re-election. And why isn't he seeking re-election, y'all? Let's take a look at this article, which AOL has graciously put up there. George Santos says he won't seek re-election to protect his family's privacy after the ethics committee finds he spent campaign cash on OnlyFans. And it wasn't just OnlyFans, y'all. This dude has been completely caught in 4K doing dirty stuff with campaign funds. Just dirty stuff. Representative George Santos announced on Thursday that he will not seek re-election in 2024. Like that was an option. If anybody in New York voted for this mook, I would just side-eye you, because come on now. He did it shortly after the House Ethics Committee released a report on his conduct. He was unlikely to win anyway, duh, and was likely to be expelled within weeks because they keep coming up. I think they're up to the third time. I don't see why they can't do it, but I know why they won't do it, because they need the majority. The slim majority is the only thing protecting this fraud. Welcome to the chat, Respect. It's good to see you. So, Republican George Santos won't seek re-election, but that scared me. Thank you, honey. Welcome to the chat. 31 months, I appreciate you. That scared the crap out of me, but it's okay. Welcome to the chat. Like I was saying, they don't want to get rid of him because he is part of this slim majority. He keeps that House Speaker in charge. They actually narrowly avoided the government shutdown. Our president just did a toast about how he signed the papers so that the government shutdown wouldn't happen. So Congress can work when we need them to, but it would work better if we had less liars like George Santos on there. I'm just saying. There was a damning report released about his conduct. He says he'll continue to serve his constituents until he's allowed, which, dude, really? I will not be seeking re-election for the second term. Nobody's going to vote for you, as my family deserves better than to be under the gun from his family. They always try to use their family as a shield, but dude, OnlyFans was not the only thing he wasted money on. He said the investigation is a disgusting politicized smear and that everyone who participated in this grave miscarriage of justice should be ashamed of themselves. Sir, ashamed of ourselves? Because the ethics committee who are doing their job found out that you wasted thousands of dollars on Botox, thousands of dollars on OnlyFans, thousands of dollars on a Hermes bag. And I've been hearing that term Hermes because I'm in a certain reactor's channel a lot. I love sitting in her lives. I'll probably be in there at 9 o'clock tonight on YouTube because there's a heifer to pick apart, and I love being a part of that. But aside from that, the fact that the ethics committee just found that, along with the stuff that your campaign manager had to report because y'all weren't spending those funds. But then they kept digging. They found texts from you where you got $6K from a donor that was supposed to go to advertise it, and it instead went to spa treatments. Where's the lie, George? You're the only one who lies. These findings from the House Ethics Committee reported this. He used campaign cash for personal funds, including making a $4,127.80 purchase at Hermes for a bag. Hermes is a bag, I think it's like a branch of Chanel. It's really fancy, but almost $5,000 purchase of that. He made smaller purchases at OnlyFans, Sephora, for meals, parking, and other stuff that was not what that money was supposed to be. Campaign funds, and I say this as somebody who literally worked on a campaign, are supposed to be for campaign purposes, for mailing out stuff, for airtime on the radio or TV, which nowadays with the internet you really don't have to spend that much on, but a lot of these people still aren't smart enough to understand that yet. I'm telling you, I probably should have went into campaign managing because I could save y'all money. Either way, the fact of the matter is the stuff that his money went to was not related to campaign. So that is what we call campaign finance fraud. When you spend the money on stuff that is not based on the campaign and for personal use, that is the equivalent of embezzlement and fraud. I know finance is not everybody's wheelhouse, a cup of tea, and it feels like I'm throwing big words out there, but you need to spend the money on what your constituents and the donors give you the money on. He did not. He bought himself luxury items, OnlyFans stuff, Sephora, which is like I think a cosmetic and beauty enhancement company, and other frivolous shit that had nothing to do with his campaign. It's fraud, point blank. They said in addition to federal charges that he faces for money laundering, identity theft, because we're still not even sure if this fucker's really named George Santos at this point, and I'm not going to keep saying that. I would not be surprised. You will not get shocked Pikachu face from me if we find out he is not really George Santos at this point, because he lies about everything. Matter of fact, he was cocky last week. I read the article last week, but he was like, my constituents didn't care where I played tennis or went to school. But you literally lied about your resume as a sit-in congressperson. So yes, they do care. Clearly. Other offenses with a myriad of lies he told about his background, including saying his mom died in 9/11 when she died in 2016. 9/11 happened September 11th, 2011. My dad died around that time. I never said my dad died on 9/11 because A, it's creepy. B, they might associate his death with the towers, which I don't want. He literally died on September 11th, 2011, but it had nothing to do with the Twin Towers. You realize how messed up that is? That I can't even really talk about something that literally happened to me because I'm afraid people would get it misconstrued. Yet this person lied on his dead mother's name for clout? It's fucked up and weird. Like, really, honestly. And welcome to the chat, Grandpa Blues. I don't even understand it at this point. It makes absolutely no sense, the shit that George Santos lies on, but he continues to do it and doesn't want any press back. He is like so many people I've had to deal with this week. It said CNN reported that Representative Michael Guest of Mississippi, a Republican chairman of the House committee, plans to tee up a vote on expelling George Santos, which when the House returns after the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, they've tried 3 times so far, but as many Republicans and Democrats that would like to see this idiot out, for now, because the Republicans want to hold the House slim majority they have, they're not going to get rid of this liar. They're going to hope that he either refuses to seek re-election, which he's saying he's not. I don't think he had a snowball chance in Hades to do it. I just feel that they're not being ethical. You can call all of these little freaking committees all you want, but unless you are willing to do the work to expel him and get rid of him, all of this is just posterity for me. They're posturing at this point. You know this man has committed campaign and finance fraud. You know he lied. His whole fucking resume is complete illusion and made up. Yet you will not do your job to expel him. And I want to hear, oh, it's the Dems. Why can't the Dems do it? The Dems aren't in the lead. They do not have the majority. They've already said that they would vote with you if you really wanted to oust him, but yous aren't together on it. And honestly, this is a Republican problem. Yous have the House majority. It is on you to get rid of this liability. I'm just saying. In other words, it appears likely that the required 2/3 majority of the House will support expelling Santos. If that happens, he will become the first lawmaker in over 20 years and just the 6th in American history to be expelled from the House of Representatives. And what have we learned from that today? Well, I'll say this again as I put his picture back up. George Santos should never have been elected. And that is on us. It's not just on the Republicans whose party is like open season for these whack jobs. It is on us, especially in New York City, my former home place, to vet these people, to know who you're voting for, to make sure that these cartoon characters do not get into office. It is on us voters to have a better voting report card. And exactly, welcome to the chat, let me get your name right. D. Perez Select. Let me make sure I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. But welcome to the chat. For real. It is on us. We have the technology. We have publications. We have places that we can go. Ballotpedia is something that I continue to pump up to learn who's running, why they're running. They have YouTube channels, a lot of them. If you listen to some of the stuff that this man said when he was on the campaign trail, I still don't understand how he got elected. Not even the lies. There was just something about him that seemed off. And I'm not in my hometown anymore, so I couldn't vote for him. But I would have thought that enough people would have really pushed back against him to not see him waste a Senate seat. Oh, a Congress seat, actually. Because the House is a little bit different from the Senate. But we are in such weird times when it comes to politics. Because it is still a game and it's still a lot of flash over substance, and we have to get it together. Because for every George Santos, there are people like Lauren Underwood who gets the job done. People like I believe her last name is Brown, who we just elected in Ohio. There are good lawmakers all over our state that they don't want to be famous. They just want to go in, pass legislation to get the job done, and we need more of them. There are people running all the time. I see them on Spoutable now, which I'm loving Spoutable, because when people campaign, they put their platform on. I can look at it, I can help promote it, and I'm definitely, when election season comes up, you're going to see me showing off those people because they are real grassroots people just trying to get into a district so that we can stop those moms from Liberty fuckers who want to ban books and literally praise Nazi stuff. They want to stop George Santos and other chronic liabetes sufferers from rolling back our rights of women, LGBT, black or brown in this country. We have to work together and be a coalition to protect our democracy, but to also be a front against this fuckery. There are way too many foot soldiers for fuckery already, who they look the other way at men like George Santos. And now the Republicans are trying to say, well, he's more of a Democrat. No, fuck he ain't. You're not putting this on us. Your chronic liabetes sufferer is all Republican. That is a GOP-led, GOP-backed, all mess. That is your mess. You are not volleying that mess to us. George Santos ran as a Republican because he could run as a Republican. Because y'all didn't question his lies. You wanted to tout his orientation and saying, look, we are a newer, more open, more diverse Republican Party. I mean, we have maybe 2 black Republicans and a woman here or there. And now, look, we have an openly gay... Oh, he's a liar? Oh, he's a bad liar. Oh, he's a liar whose paper trail can point to... Oh, no. No, we have to say he's more like a Democrat now. No, you're not putting that on us. We don't claim him. We don't even know if his name's really George Santos. So no, thank you. Mm-mm. He's GOP full on. And if you don't want him, you need to tell him to go independent. But you're not going to tell us that he's a Democrat. I don't think so. We don't even know if he's really George Santos. So that's not happening. But I feel like it just feeds into so much that I've taken in this week. There's been too much going on with people in power just taking it out on people who don't have power. And I'm going to bring it back to the root just again. Give me a moment here to pop this one in because it was really sad reading this news. And I want to go off on a bit of a tangent because as a new homeowner, this breaks my heart. Let me get this doofus's picture down. And what breaks my heart about it is how unnecessary this one is. Now, I don't know if some of you knew about this. It's been going around my circles. It was going around when we were on Twitter. And I thought with Snoop Dogg giving a donation and a few other really well-to-do, prominent black people lending their voice to how unfair it was, that it would have a better outcome. But unfortunately, because of the circumstance of this situation, it's not going to have a happy ending. And what I'm talking about is 84-year-old Corrine Woodson, who lived in her Auburn, Alabama home for 60 years, soon will have to be forced to move out. There is a lot to unpack with this because home ownership is so vital to us. A lot of us don't get the opportunities to even be homeowners, so that's already tough as it is. And as somebody who can't have access to any of my old homes and where I grew up, it hurts even worse because knowing that this woman's family had that property since the early 1900s, since the days where we went from being slaves to having to survive Jim Crow, and they kept it in their family till this year. And now they're going to lose it because this fucking company that's seeing the value in the land finagled their way. And I know some people are like, well, why did they fight harder? Hey, she thought she owned the land. It was in her name. And because of the way it's set up, there was ways for this real estate company who sees the value in the land, because the land is worth millions, to redevelop, build condos and resorts on. And they kept trying to get her to sell it. She didn't want to sell it. Home ownership, land ownership is so key and vital to us because a lot of us don't have that opportunity. So for this elder to lose that because of this disgusting, gross ass group of people, I'm pissed for her. But when I had heard about it a few months back, there were celebrities lending their voice, giving their money to try to fight this. Unfortunately for her, she did not go about the proper, I think, channels or paperwork until it was too late. And these people knew and took advantage of the fact that she did not know the proper protocol, and now she's got to move. She has not lived anywhere else for 60 years. And this is the shit that we are up against in this country. Even when we do the right things, home ownership, land ownership can be taken from us by some greedy asshole who knows the loopholes and can swoop in. This is what we have to pay attention to. This is what we should be focusing our energy on so that our elders can live in peace. She's 84 years old. These fucking assholes, if they had wanted to be decent, could have just left her be. Now they're saying, we'll give her a year. She has been in her house for 60 years. There's absolutely no reason at all for them to force her to sell her house to them. But this is the world we live in. And this is why we have to fight to do the right thing. It is so infuriating. I really hope that she can get the help she needs. But the way everybody's reporting this as if the writing's on the wall, I say she continues to fight. I would really like to see them get something together and help this woman, because no elder should be forced to leave their lands because some greedy asshole wants their lands. It is so heartbreaking when I've seen the videos of her just passionately saying, this is my home. This has been in my family's home for over a century now. We have kept it together, protecting it. And now she's going to lose it. And it doesn't make sense to me. But this was on top of so much else. We had this article coming up, because this family is trying to still get answers for what happened to their relative. This has been a busy week for Black America, and not a good busy week. We have what happened to that young man in Mississippi. Let me get the interact up so that I can shift this down just a little bit. Let me grab the right thing because it's pulling up the wrong thing. Relevant news here. There we go. They say chilling updates. Come on, Root. Law enforcement. Chilling updates in the mysterious and brutal slaying of a Mississippi man, Dexter Wade. Now, according to the news article and what's being reported, he was run over by the cops. I don't want to show the video. I know there's been video floating around. Y'all know my rules about that, especially after watching George Floyd. I don't show black torture porn, point blank period. Will never happen on my Bonnet Chronicles. So I will break down the story as best as I can because I'm trying to hold it together. I hate stories like this, man. But the fact of the matter is, this young man was murdered, legalized lynched, as I like to call it, by the police, the legalized lynching squad, as I like to call them now, in Mississippi, which is already a state that I side-eye. Still looking at you, Tate Reeves, welfare stealer. You get all the side-eye. This young man's death was already tragic and suspicious, but then add the top that they tried to cover it up and act like nothing obtuse happened. And then when the autopsy happened and the full investigation, they had to walk it back and say, well, he got hit by a car. They're not giving the family proper answers. This was a murder. And we need to stop allowing black bodies to be murdered in Mississippi. It's old. It's tiring. It is the same old story. And after the Bama brawl, y'all know we'll fight back. So you need to stop whatever the fuck all of this is. But the fact that his family is fighting to figure out why he got run over, why his body was so messed up, the whole brutality of it. It's insidious. And there are people that want to make excuses for why law enforcement, you should just comply, it's costing lives. To let these people just do this with impunity, willy-nilly. Who is going to police the police at this point? I stand with law enforcement who do their jobs properly, who want to take care of their neighborhoods, who want to help, because police are civil servants. Need I remind you? Tax-paid civil servants at that. But there are people who use that badge to bully, to badger, as this next story, which I'm definitely not going to show the video of this either, but it has been a really horrifying week for black people. And this one is out of Texas. And I am not sure if you have heard about this one, because I just found out about this one today. And this one breaks my heart because it is unnecessary. And no, I will not show the footage of this either, because it's horrifying. But you can see a little bit of how many cops was on this brother man. They paralyzed him, slamming him to a concrete floor. His crime? Alleged public intoxication. Because we need that much force for somebody who's drunk. Like, I get that law enforcement, especially policing, is a tough job. I have cops in my family. I want to be mindful that most people go in with the idea that they want to make the neighborhood safe, the city block safe, the area safe. But there are people that put that uniform and badge on that know they should not have even passed the initial psychological test. Like those 4 brothers in, I believe, Georgia, who are now going to probably lose the rest of their lives to jail because they legally lynched a guy and was videotaped doing it. Like, it don't matter the color of the skin. That thin blue line has been a literal target for black and brown people, especially black and brown indigenous people, for far too long. And calling them out isn't unpatriotic. It's a matter of safety at this point. They are a danger to us. And the fact that they can paralyze us, the fact that a young lady just allegedly fleeing shoplifting is enough for them to shoot in her car and murder a mother with an unborn child inside of her body. The amount of force that is used against black and brown people have to be called out, because they are literally getting away with our murder, breaking our bodies down, and destroying our lives. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you can get a payout. What the fuck's a payout gonna do? What the fuck's a payout gonna do? You don't gotta stop thinking on monetary fucking gains when you are literally traumatizing my community over and over with extreme, unnecessary violence. As I already said, Elijah McCain, one of his murderers, went up and got convicted. I'm hoping that he gets serious jail time, but I don't believe he's gonna. Another person's conviction was waived, which pisses me off, because they literally held that child down and injected ketamine into him. The EMTs that also help with that are going up for trial too. But this is what we are up against in our own country, and you think that I'm being hyperbolic by saying that we need to take this shit seriously? I don't think so. It has been such a troublesome week for this nonsense. Between finding out what happened to that young man in Mississippi and finding out that he was literally run over, and now they're just like, oh, well, we got to give you the story, but it's not the way you think it is. Well, if it wasn't a problem, why didn't you say it in the first place? Why are we constantly finding out about this stuff months later after a full-on investigation, and we still get bits and pieces of it? Why are we seeing video of views, 4 views on a drunk guy slamming him so hard that he literally can no longer use most of his arms and legs? This isn't normal. And it shouldn't take my ass ranting to let you see how and abnormal this is. But I will have all of these Roots articles linked in the comments and stuff below, because I can't watch that level of pain anymore. It is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think that there are families that had to bury their loved ones, not even understanding why they were dead. A routine traffic stop should not be a death sentence for Black American citizens, for Indigenous or Hispanic American citizens. Because need I remind you, even though some of you think you're adjacent enough and get past enough, that the moment somebody thinks you're different, you are in danger, because they have been trained to view us as less than, as animals, and as the enemy. And until that training stops, we're in danger. There was another thing that I was going to bring up, but I couldn't find a link to the article I wanted to say, so I'm just going to talk about it point blank, because it's a fucking weird thing. George Santos apparently now has a militia. I don't know what the fuck is going on in Florida, but homeboy, you're not going to be president. I don't give a fuck. 2024, Biden-Harris all the way, point blank anyway on my end. But even if somebody is planning to vote GOP, there's like 14 other chuckleheads still, I thought, that's running. And they're all still trying to back the MAGA moron, even though he's got 91 indictments. But I don't know what's going on with George Santos. But the fact that the man has a literal militia and they're running articles like it's normal, that he's getting them military training? Sir, why? And for what purpose? I know the states are allowed certain things to get away with. I don't quite understand why Florida needs its own personal army, but I'm not liking these stories because our media is not taking that shit as serious as it should. Because if my governor, who's doing a bang up job, love you, Big Gretch, we're doing the thing with our economy and everything else. But if she had gotten in front of a camera and said, well, I think our state needs a militia to protect me, of course, and to do other things, I would pump the brakes on her so fucking fast, her head would spin. A governor does not need a private army. That is a red flag. And I noticed that it's only certain people that think they're entitled to private armies, that they're entitled to that kind of military backup. And that should concern you, because it is not normal for anybody in politics, a civil job that is supposed to be serving constituents and a whole state, if you're a governor, having a personalized army. I had to pause because it made me go, how did he do that? And why did he do that? And why is this being allowed? And this clown is legitimately trying to run for president. You can't make this timeline make sense. And it makes my head hurt because it should be called out, but people are not taking it seriously. Just like you didn't take the rodeo show seriously in 2015, 2016. And then we lost a ton of lives. And you don't think Militia Man from Florida isn't going to make everybody he considers their enemy's life miserable? Why does a governor need a militia? Can anybody make that make sense? Exactly. Not only send his ass back to Florida, but take him out of your governor's office. He does not belong in that governor's mansion. He is a liability to the state of Florida and potentially to the whole country at this point. The fact that he is gaining a militia, I think he knows the writings on the wall. All his little antics of shipping migrants like they were toys to Martha's Vineyard and to DC because him and Abbott, another idiot from Texas, thought it was funny to do that. The fact that he is playing with fire with this awful bid for president where he won't even bravely attack Donald Trump. He just takes little jabs that Trump, of all people, can volley back at him. George Santos is a clown, but he's a dangerous clown because I think he thinks he can force his way into power. And that should be scary to any of us who even knows a fraction of history. No governor should have a personalized militia, period. Point blank. This shit should have been called out months ago when I was seeing little rumblings, but now that he is literally bragging about training this militia, sir, why do you have a militia? How does this make sense in any way, shape, or form? And I'm saying this as you see footage of people who are literally acting like a militia, paralyzing a man. You think that this shit with our already tax-funded squad of destabilizers isn't bad enough? Could you imagine a man like DeSantis in power? And I know his name is decent. I call him Def Santis. Put him in charge of everything with his ideas of a protective militia. Everything that I warned you about if Trump got elected would be times 1,000 with Ron Def Santis. All of our rights gone. The whole religious theocracy that I keep warning you, his little foot soldiers for fuckery wants for us because they think they're going to usher us into this great biblical apocalypse where we all heathens burn and they get into their gateway country club paradise. It ain't going to happen, but you can't tell those wackadoos that. They are not operating on reality. They want this lunacy. And none of them are going to press back against this governor with a militia. So it's on us who have common sense to say, this ain't right. This is not right. And we exactly respect. Evil doesn't die. And it is on us to take the stand against this man. He should have never gotten governor in the first place. I tried my hardest. I know the man that went up against him has some problems. I still don't know enough about it to talk and weigh in heavily on it. But there was some issue with personal stuff. Nothing with his campaign. He's not like George Santos. There was no campaign finance that I know of. But there was stuff in his personal life that the Dems found messy. I don't really know. But I still think that that initial run should have went better than it did. Charlie Crist came damn close to being the new governor of Florida. And I'm still brokenhearted because he went hard. He did not care. He did not have to go low either. He just volleyed Def Santis words back at him. And he had turnout. That was a close race. And I just wish he would have taken over as governor because I do believe that Charlie Crist would have been good for the state. Unfortunately, just like what happened to Stacey Abrams in Georgia, we just didn't turn out the way we should have. And that is on us Democrats. We cannot just sit here and complain and from a perch like I am from a state where my governor does have common sense and not do what we can to rally to help our party in states that it matters everywhere. We have seen the incompetence that they're willing to run. We have seen the scary levels they will go to hold and keep power. And it is on us to do our civic duty because if you don't think they're trying to find ways to take it from us. I spent the week this week with anxiety, y'all, because I knew I had to go in to the DMV to get my new real ID so that if I have to go into the polling place because I'm now in a new district, I won't get any press back. I take that shit seriously. I have an A+ report card. That's why they're constantly in my freaking emails begging me for money. I ain't got no money. The holidays are coming. You just cannot hit me up for campaign money. Sorry. Not sorry. Had to get that out of my system. I give when I can. I've given the Spoutable. I will give to a politician if I feel. And I even donated to the president's election early on so that I could get it out the way. But I'm not an ATM, so please stop asking me for money. I don't like it. It's getting on my nerves. That ran aside. I went to go get my ID taken care of because it's important to me. Lady at the DMV was so nice, and she's moving down south of all places. North Carolina, my former neck of the woods for a bit. So it was nice talking to her and letting her know why I needed the ID and getting my voted stuff switched to up here and everything. Because she could tell I'm a real one. I take it seriously. And she was lovely about that. But the fact of the matter is, she even knew why I needed this, why it was important. Because she knew if I have to go into a polling place, they're going to look at me and be like, okay, probably a Democrat. Let's give her a hard time. They don't understand that I will give them a hard time back because I know my rights as a voter. But I am going to be smart about this. Talk to the clerk. Let them know, just like the clerk that I dealt with in my old district when I lived in Saginaw, that I am the disabled person because of my mental health issues. It would be better for me to be able to be on the absentee ballot list. It's up to them. The lady in the district I was in had no problem with it. It makes their life easier. They get my ballot out, I fill it out, I mail it off. But if this person wants to be salty about it, and I will find out your name soon, I am very good with all of that, and I will be writing to you to make sure that I can get on the permanent absentee ballot again. But if you want to play those games, okay. My ID is on its way, and I'm telling you, I will use it, and I will be up in that polling place masked up with the attitude because I intend to vote in every election that I am qualified to vote for. My grandmother said it, and I believe her. Vote because they don't want it, and they will take it from you. And I've taken that to heart, and I will continue to take it to heart until I do not have the will or ability to vote ever again. When I'm not here, apparently. That's not going to be for a while. So any election that I can qualify to vote for, I am going to vote for. It's important. It's important to know who represents your district. It's important to know who's your congressperson. It's important to know who's on your school board. I know my kid's graduating next year. I know that I put him in the virtual school. All of their funding still is taxpayer funded. It is because of voters like me that they are able to get that funding for Connexus Academy. It matters. And even those of you who don't have kids, you have to know where your fund is going, whether it's to renovations for parking lots for museums, park renovations, all of that shit is on those ballots. And so many of you don't pay attention to this, and then you complain because, like what's going on with Eric Adams, he's got $110 billion, I think, budget cut thing that he's doing now. Y'all elected him. He's your problem. I don't live in New York no more. All I know is that a lot of people who don't vote always seem to complain when a politician allegedly fucks up. But it is on us. It is our job. It is the one thing we can do to ensure that the person in charge has our best interests at heart. You want a state where they have legalized weed, whether you partake or not? Vote for it. You want a senator who would rather get legislation passed to protect women's rights over restricted right? Vote for them. You want a congressperson who's actually who they say they are and doesn't suffer from chronic liabetes like George Santos? You have to vote for that person. I know it seems hard, but honestly, I've been filling out ballots since I was 18. Since 1996, I believe, honestly, because I was more than 19 when I got my first election. Yeah. So I've been legally allowed to vote since 18 and 95, but voting since 1996 or 97. 1996, I think, was the first election I was in, because I remember it was in New York. And then I voted in Florida, my first presidential election, which was Al Gore. And that was, Florida was like one of the worst states I ever dealt with the voting. That was the first time I ever had to stand in super long lines to cast my ballot, only to find out that they had a hanging Chad thing, and it didn't stop me. I know some people would have been like, well, I would have felt entitled after that. If that was my case, I wouldn't want to vote again. What? No. When somebody tries to tell me that my vote is just going to be thrown out, I'm going to vote harder. And I'm going to take more of my friends and family with me so that they can vote too. That is how I handle it. I don't fold in the face of fascism. My grandfather didn't fold in the face. He fought fascism. So I'm not going to dishonor their legacy and memory by saying, oh, I had to stand in long lines. And then they threw out my ballot. So why should my vote matter? It does matter. The fact that my vote scared them enough to where they hang and chatted it made me even more determined to vote. And that is the attitude I thought most Americans would have. It is our civic right to cast our ballot for who we want. That's why, even though I clown on some of you, and I know I clowned on Tuesday about those independents that our media wanted to run, if you want to do that with your vote, I don't suggest you do it next year. But it is your right to vote for who you want as long as you are exercising that right to vote. That is more important to me right now. Do I want to see a bunch of destabilizers take from our incumbent? No. But I think if you're a solid Democrat or even a solid independent and you like stability, you're not looking at the way a third party anyway next year. And if you're already a committed GOPer, I'm not talking to you. You're probably not even watching this shit. So, no. If you are looking at this Bonnet Chronicles for political advice, which I would like to think I give a lot of political advice, my suggestion to you is to vet, vote, and know who represents your area. I know the area I just moved into is more red. Point blank. I am probably the darkest thing most people see. To the point where you either get that, oh wow, you people do exist, look, that we got in town the other day. Or you get those people that look at you like, oh, I didn't know our neighborhood was going this way. Like, you get all the kinds, but I don't care. I'm in my private place, so I don't mind when we have to go into the town and deal with the idiots because they're not brave enough to say anything to me directly. And the people who are nice, even though one of the few nice people are probably moving down south. Like, I don't let bigots get to me. This is my neck of the woods now, and I plan to vote. And I know that there are other Dems up here. They're few and far between right now, and they're probably scared to be loud because in ruraler towns, it is hard to be openly liberal for some reason for some people. They feel like they'll get attacked. They feel like these weird fundies will say that they're against God. It has nothing to do with faith. Wanting everybody to have stability, wanting to take care of people, and wanting to make sure that services provide for every citizen is not a bad thing. I'm not even going the full socialist thing because I do believe that you have to put in to the system to make the system work. But if you're not going to support people with education, with being able to eat and take care of themselves, I don't understand what these fundamentalists are doing, but my ass is up here now. I got my real ID coming. I am ready for the 2024 voting season because I know that there is a good chance I might have to go into the polling place depending on the clerk up here. If she's one of them old biddies that like, I don't like that name. You got to come in. I'm not going to put you on an absentee ballot. Or an old man because you don't know. I have not found out yet. I knew the lady who was in my old district. She was very nice. We would email each other from time to time. The lady that I had to deal with for some kiddo stuff even helped me get him registered to vote. Now I've got to get all that switched up here too. But we are both going to be solid voters. My partner is a solid voter. All we want is stability. And like I said, as a pragmatist, my stability is for everybody, not just for people who look and vote and act like me. Everybody should benefit from a system that looks after all of us, that doesn't target us for our gender or gender identity, doesn't target us for who we love if it's in the legal limits, because I know people like to twist that shit. But the LGBTQ are not my enemy, so I'm not going to make them my enemy. targeting black and brown citizens, targeting Muslim and Jewish citizens. I watched that John Oliver last week tonight, and it was heartbreaking. It's our Monday night thing because it comes on Sundays on Max, but we don't want to stay up that late, so we watched the recast on Monday. And one of the things that he showed was what's going on currently in Gaza. And like I said, I'm not going to weigh in too heavily on this because every time I am petitioned by anybody, they want me to pick a side. And I keep saying, I'm on the side of peace. This thing has gone on too long, and watching the suffering, watching those kids being interviewed. Who sticks a fucking microphone in the kid's face asking them what they feel as their home is being shelled? Like, this is what I don't understand. And I can say that from the comfort of my American fucking... And I can't even say safety as a black person. But I do feel quite safer than this child who was literally being shelled upon and having a microphone put in his face and asking, well, what do you feel about it? And them trying to edit out him saying that it's shit. What else is he supposed to... What was that baby supposed to say at that point? His whole home is literally on fire, and you've got a microphone in his face to ask him how he feels? And on the other side of that, you've got hospital workers who are stressed out in Israeli hospitals, having reporters and people from Netanyahu's cabinet coming in to harass family members who blame them for this conflict. And like I said, there is plenty of blame and plenty of just horror going around. There is no easy answer or easy solution to this, but I need to remind you that every time peace has came close to being a thing in that region, the stabilization wins out because too many fuckers have put their hands in this conflict. When Yitzhak Rabin had a literal court drafted up, working with the Palestinians to find peace, he was met with assassination. The two-state accord, even 2 years ago that was drafted, had both Trump's nasty interference, Putin's nasty interference, and other world leaders who thought we didn't see them, who aren't even brave enough to say now that we need a ceasefire, because that is what's needed. All of you are some punk-ass pussies, even our current president here, and that's the only thing I will ding President Biden on. Nobody is standing firm on saying that this shit needs to stop. And that is the only thing that I can say really upsets me about everything right now. Because we keep acting like this shit is going to stop on its own. And it's been almost 80 years. And watching these children just shell-shocked, wanting this to stop, wanting to know when they can go home, if they even have a home to go to, breaks my heart. And what makes it worse is that everybody wants a winner or a loser, and we're all losing at this point. Anytime we look away from kids being literally brutalized, from people not having water or electricity, suffering from war-driven diseases, to prove a point to a terrorist group that was allegedly funded by the people that are currently in charge in the first place, those briefcases full of money. Watch the last week tonight if you need to know what I'm talking about, because it was eye-opening, some of the stuff that was revealed. And I know as an American, I don't have a dime in this quarter. But as a black American, I am constantly being asked to lend my voice and being told that if I don't, then certain people won't say Black Lives Matter. And you know what? As a black woman, I'm used to standing on my own anyway. You are not going to bully or push me into picking anything outside the side of peace. Because at this point, I can't pick a side. Both sides, as far as I'm concerned, have done enough for me to say, no. No matter who I would side with at this point, there's blood, innocent blood, on both sides being spilled. I want both Palestinians and Israelis to find peace, live in peace, because life is too short for this. Life is way too fucking short to be killing each other over ideologies, killing each other because you think a piece of land is more important than living together, working together, and finding a better way. But the system would definitely have to be better for Palestinians no matter what accord is drafted, because they are living under some fucking horrible conditions. And too many people have looked away from that. And it's not right, because these groups would never be able to do this. Whether you say they were elected to do it or not, if they didn't have good reason to be elected. You don't just put these people in the power because, oh, everything's stable. Let's put destabilizers in charge. A lot of people wanted to say, oh, they elected Hamas to be in charge. And no, after finding out, watching that last week tonight was very informative to how those people got into power and who funded them. This is some messed up stuff, y'all. And that is why, instead of waiting on one side or the other, I want a peace accord that can be respected, that helps all the citizens heal and move towards the path of peace. That is the only thing you can bring to my old black ass at this point. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for definitely sitting there. And I'm telling you, I agree with that respect. Netanyahu should have been replaced. This is so troublesome because honestly, after watching last week tonight, some of the past that I know about Yitzhak Rabin is all starting to make sense now. And I don't like it. I don't like any of this. I don't like that for years people looked away at this. And after watching V for Vendetta the other night, you see so many of the parallels. And I'm tired of seeing innocent lives lost as awful people have power bits. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Go make dinner for Axiom Wolf and I. Just hug kiddo. See, make sure Callie ain't getting into stuff. It's just been a crazy week. I hope that you all have a good weekend, good downtime. Just hug your loved ones if you can, and just take it easy, y'all. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I'm waiting. I got the headset down. I got to take it off. It's even louder in my headset. But it's... Thank you so much. And yes, we do these on Friday nights, definitely, and Tuesdays in the afternoon. You are more than welcome. Thank you so much for joining the chat. I appreciate you all. Shout outs will be given on Spoutable, and I will be back on Tuesday. Y'all have a great weekend.